What is a scholarship, and what separates that out from other types of financial aid?
Well, I have two different definitions. So it's free money as well as earned money. I say those two because one, it's free, meaning you don't have to pay it back, but then it's also earned money in the sense that you probably had to apply to a scholarship, or you had to have met certain grades to apply or like receive a scholarship, and therefore you earn that money. And how scholarships are set apart from financial aid is like, well, some financial aids are loans, and loans you unfortunately do have to pay back along with interest at times. And then there are grants, which are given to you by the government, whereas for scholarships, they're given to you by the school themselves, an organization, like kind of like a third party organization.
Okay, so one of the misconceptions that I often hear is in reference to that is that scholarships are from private organizations, grants are from government organizations. So scholarships don't come from the government.
For the most part, no.
Okay. All right. So, since you've mentioned private organizations, who are these organizations? What types of organizations award scholarships?
Wow. Actually, I would say almost every organization. So, like, this sounds silly, but like, and a lot of my students laugh at it when I say like McDonald's has one of the biggest scholarships out there. They're like, McDonald's really, or Burger King even. Like, they have. I think both of their biggest scholarships are like $50,000, which is incredible, because that's
Wow.
how much like the average American family makes per year.
Wow.
And then so like there's like a bunch of like places, like I was also just doing research, and it's like a lot of the fast food chains have scholarships attributed. Like I don't necessarily remember like the criteria to make you eligible for them, but there's also like other places you can go. For example, your parents' employers, if you're a student, or if you're a parent, you are an employer, I would say talk to Human Resources, and they might have a scholarship. Like another thing is like my older brother, like throughout college, he would work at this grocery store called Roach Brothers, and then Roach Brothers set their own scholarship. Like it was only like $500 or $1,000, but like it's still $500 or $1,000 more dollars than what you've had before.
Okay, that's true. 500 or 1,000 more than you had before is better than nothing. But so far you've talked about McDonald's, Burger King, companies your parents work for. These all sound like for-profit businesses. Are for-profit businesses the only organizations that award scholarships?
Oh no, not at all. Like so for example, the biggest scholarship I got came from a nonprofit org. It was called Questbridge, and it's a nonprofit that helps low-income, high-achieving students like gain access to top-tier colleges, and that's how I actually found out about Emory. That's actually how I applied to college in total, and that's how I afforded college. And then there's like a bunch of others. Like there's like the Gates Scholarship, which is a nonprofit from like the Gates Millennium Foundation, and just like a bunch of other nonprofits. And those like nonprofits usually they're around, but I think you need to search for them a little bit more because like nonprofits are like less known than like those big corporations.
Okay, so you were talking about searching. What are some tips that you have about how to find scholarships?
Sure. So like my method is actually starting close to you, and then opening it up to almost any possibility.
Okay.
So like first, like start off with yourself. Do you know of where you go to school? If you're a student, like where do you go to school? Does that school or like Board of Education have scholarships just for like your the students at your specific school? That's actually how I found a lot of like mini scholarships for me. Like I think I applied to like 10 of them.
When you say mini scholarship, what do you mean by a mini scholarship?
So like not anything that would give you like a full ride to college, but like $500, $400, like $250.
Okay.
So like mini because they're small.
Right. I mean, I received scholarships like that myself. For example, I was in a lot of the arts programs at my school, chorus, band, theater, and so I received a $250 scholarship from the chorus award.
Yeah.
$250 one time towards school. The band award, $100 towards school, and this is of course some time ago, so I'm sure the money is a little bit different now. But those are mini scholarships.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like for example, one that I won was an orchestra scholarship. That was like I think $300 at the time. But yeah, exactly. Another like stuff like that. Like so you start off with yourself, and then like you would move on to like family. So like as I said before, like if your parents like work somewhere that company that you're a parent through which you're employed, through which they're employed, might have scholarships for you. And then from there, I'll keep on going. Like, for example, if you're like involved in a sport, maybe like your like let's say coach knows of like let's say like girls soccer in the Boston area, a scholarship for that. So stuff like that. And then as you continue going forward.
So just to summarize, so far we haven't even talked about the computer web searches or anything like that. So far, it's all been about who you're talking to the school, talking to your parents about their job, and talking to your coaches about their job and who they know. So this is so far all just person-to-person communication.
Yep, push that computer away.
Okay.
For a bit, and then like no, I say that because like those scholarships are less competitive in the sense there might be less applicants. For example, like the only applicants for those school scholarships are people from your school, and those people from your school will not be eligible for like specific scholarships. Like for example, if it's an orchestra scholarship, I think only 15 seniors played orchestra at my high school.
So that's a small pool
Yep.
against whom you're competing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
to use air quotes.
Yep. No. And in similar regards, like for your parents' company, there might not be like as many seniors as there are like let's say like 11th graders, 12th graders, and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, from what I've read, the vast majority of Americans who work for companies with only a few dozen to a few hundred employees.
Mm-hmm.
Not only a minority of Americans work for large corporations like the Googles, Apples, McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
Macy's of the world. So if your company only has 500 employees, how many of them have children? How many of them have children who are seniors this year?
Yep, exactly. So that's why like I would say start small, because like those are more attainable and they're also like easier to get. Like you might be able to like actually contact the scholarship fund, or like your parents might actually be friends with the person who's running with the scholarship committee. But then like I would say like bring that computer back in and start looking at like stuff online. And so like there are like two platforms I'd like to use, or like that I would recommend. First is a website, and then the second one's like a phone app,
Okay.
which I think now a lot of students like. So for the scholarship website, it's called FastWeb, and like FastWeb is like the largest online database for scholarships.
So is that something you can just search on Google or Bing or whatever and just type in FastWeb
Yep.
and that will come up?
Yep.
And do you know if that's a .com, .org?
Yep, it's fastweb.com.
.com. Okay.
Yep, and I like to call it like the Tinder of scholarships, because you
Oh
create
my.
you create like a profile, so it asks you like what your GPA is, like test scores, like the like that kind of stuff, as well as like where you live, what you like to do extracurricularly, or like your hobbies, in addition to like what and where you want to study, like basically like getting a whole sense of who you are. And, like,
It does sound like a dating app.
Yep. And so then like from there, like it's like basically like a holistic sense of who you are, and then with that profile that you created, it then matches you to scholarships that fit your like criteria.
Okay.
And then like it's really cool because like it updates every single time you log in. So like when I'm showing my students, like I made like a dummy account, for lack of better words, and I honestly forgot what I put as like my criteria and stuff like that. But it'll be like, okay, since you last logged in, which was probably like 2 days ago, there are 4 more scholarships that were added to the list. And like what's the cool thing about FastWeb is that like if the scholarship deadline's passed, like you can't really see it or like apply to it. So like they also keep track about the number of scholarships that you can apply to, and then the total money that like amasses from those like scholarships. So like typically I see like, okay, since the last time we logged in, there are 2 new scholarships that add up to about 70 scholarships in total that you can apply to, which amasses to like, let's say $225,000. And like that money looks great. At the same time, like you want to make sure that you prioritize like what scholarships you want to apply to, because some of them might be more competitive, or you might be like on like like a time constraint, like they're due tomorrow, like, and you need to get 2 letters of recommendation in. Is that really feasible? It might be, and if it is, then go for it. If it isn't, like you sometimes like need to take that L. So yeah, like I would say I'm recommending FastWeb as one, and then the other one, it's actually really similar to it. It's called Scholly, so it's SCHOLLY, so like scholarship Scholly, and it's a phone. And like the reason why I recommend it, like I've never used it. I think it was only created like 4 or 3 years ago. Like so like I work in one of the high schools I work at. I was like shopping one day, and then a guy. It was during Christmas time, so I was like buying a Christmas tree, or like a Christmas wreath actually, not a tree. And the guy's like, "Oh, so what do you do in like Haverhill?" And I was like, "Well, I work at the school." He's like, "Oh, no way, what do you do?" And I was like, "I'm a college counselor." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yep, I like work on scholarship applications, college applications, the whole 10 yards or whole 9 yards." And then he's like, "Oh, that's awesome. My sister, or not my sister, my daughter just graduated from Haverhill last year." And I was like, "Oh, awesome. Is she going to college?" And he was like, "Yeah, like the reason why she was able to was like she found out this app called Scholly, and she won like $20,000 in scholarships." So I was like, "Okay, well that's like, like not like random testimonial, but I'll continue to use that because like it shows you the power of that app."
Well, especially these days, you know, pretty much every high school student, especially in larger, more densely populated areas, they're going to have a cell phone. They're going to have an iPhone or an Android phone. They're going to have access to apps. Is Scholly on both the iPhone and Android phones?
I believe so.
And of course, FastWeb is a website, so you could, as long as you have a browser on your phone or your computer or your tablet, you can access that, I assume.
Exactly. Like, and I feel like a lot of people, like, when they hear Scholly's an app, they like light up because I was like, or they would say like, "Yeah, I literally just spend like all my whole night or evening just scrolling through my phone on my bed." I'm like, now I can do something productive. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, you'd have to put in your information, and this is kind of like for the adults who are parents or teachers listening at home. This kind of sounds like when you join a job search website and you put in your information in it, and it pings you with jobs that you might qualify to apply for. This kind of sounds like the same thing.
Yeah.
But for
so.
students and scholarships.
Yep.
Okay. So that sounds good. So in addition to that, do you recommend doing any just straight up Google searching?
Yeah. Like especially if there's like specific subsets. So like for example, like one that's like really Googleable, I guess that would be the term.
They'd like it, yeah, sure.
Would be like that I help a lot of students with, especially if they're like women trying to go into like STEM fields. Is just typing in like lists of women in STEM scholarships, and like I'll get like so many results, and it'll be like 10 scholarships that women for trying to study STEM should apply to, and I'm like, okay, like and then like the good thing about that is like though it might already be on FastWeb, like you need to like sift through like all the scholarships on FastWeb,
right?
Versus if you were to Google it, you might already get like the direct results.
Right, and just for listeners and viewers at home, just in case, I'm sure everybody knows by now because it's been in the news and the popular culture, but STEM is an acronym that stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. You might also have heard it as STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Oh, yeah.
But STEM has been a big push in education during the last 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you just mentioned something about when you said Googling women in STEM, not everyone is a woman. I mean, some of us are not, you know. Are there a lot of specific scholarships for particular groups, particular populations, whether socioeconomic, ethnic, racial, cultural, religious, etc.?
Yeah, like I would say, like especially for like underrepresented groups, there are like scholarships built exactly for that. Like for example, like the biggest scholarship I received was the Questbridge one, and it was like due to my socioeconomic status. Like you had to qualify for that scholarship by being under a certain income level, because like they want to make sure that low-income students get the ability to go to scholarship, or not to scholarships, but to college,
right?
By receiving a scholarship. So like yeah, there's like definitely like a bunch of scholarships out there for like specific demographics. Like for example, like I know you're Jewish, so there's like probably like a bunch of scholarships out there for just like Jewish students.
Right. So that would be that if you're African American or you're Latinx and you want to apply for a scholarship, there's probably a scholarship out there for you, since those two communities in particular have been historically underserved.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Scholarships for women, scholarships based on socioeconomics. Are there scholarships for other underserved communities like LGBT youth, etc.?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever community you're in, there's probably a scholarship out there, not just a general scholarship, but a scholarship for your community.
Yep, and I wouldn't say just a, but probably like multiple as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're out there. It's just like a matter of like Googling it, which is the easy part. The hard part is actually applying to it.
Okay, let's talk about that. What is the process for applying, and why is it the hard part?
So depending on the scholarship, like it could actually almost mirror or even take place of your college application. So like the scholarship that I talked about, Questbridge, like I didn't apply to the Common App at all because it was like a specific program that would like let me apply to schools with that scholarship. And so like I needed to write like 2 essays, a couple of short answers. I had to have like 3 letters of recommendation. I had to send them my test scores, my transcript, like the whole shebang. Like it was my college application. And then like what was cool about that was like they have a partnership with like the Common App. And so then like everything was able to get transferred on to Common App at the very end if I wanted it to.
So basically, by applying for the Questbridge scholarship, you're applying for the Common App.
Yeah, like and not all scholarships are like that.
Right.
Yeah, like for me, like I was able to do so. Or like if exactly, and so like a bunch of so that was like the hard part because like that was it took me more than 3 weeks to do, and I remember like every single day when I would finish my homework and come back from school, that was all I did for like 3 weeks. And so like that was like the hard part. Like so that's why I feel like Googling it is probably the easy part versus like actually doing the application would be like the part that's difficult.
Right. So one of the things that I suspect you're going to recommend for students would be to start early on this process.
Mm-hmm.
How early is too early? When should a student start?
Well, so I feel like there's like a big misconception that you need to be a senior to apply for scholarships.
Oh.
In reality, like even like on FAFSA, like I think I've definitely seen like you need to just be 8 years old to apply for a scholarship. So like for those future-minded folks out there, like there are scholarships for you if you're like 14, 16, like 12, apparently even 8. And so like there are scholarships like there, but like a lot of like the scholarships, especially like the bigger ones that like are for like full tuition or full rides, those like you need to be like at least the summer before your senior year. But like there are others that like you can apply to way younger.
So let's talk about the big ones though, because I'm surprised, but on the other hand, not surprised that, you know, again, you could be a middle school student or a freshman and already start like picking up these little ones.
Mm-hmm.
But for the big ones, you're saying it's like they don't open it up until just before your senior year.
Yeah,
so would you recommend as early as March? So would you recommend the end of your junior year or over the summer rather than waiting to your senior year to apply for these?
Oh, absolutely. Like there's like so for example, like the Questbridge one. Like sorry, I keep on mentioning that one, but it's like the one that I use.
No, that's a perfectly reasonable reason to mention it.
Like it was due. I think the exact date was September 24th. So I like barely started school. Like and it was already due. Which has its own advantages. Like for example, I already knew where I was going to college much earlier than a lot of other students, because of that scholarship. And like similarly, like there's like other scholarships, like the Gates Millennium Scholarship is due. I think every single year it's due like September 15th. And then like another big one is like the Coca-Cola Scholarship, and that one's due like the 3rd week of October.
So for just to help out the listeners and viewers at home, for reference, Harpreet's talking about September 15th, September 24th for these scholarship deadlines. College application deadlines for regular admission are often not until December 15th, December 31st, January 1st, January 15th, February 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Even early admission for a lot of schools is November 1st. So these scholarship deadlines are very early senior year.
Yeah.
So getting started earlier is way better.
Yep.
All right.
And like a lot of them open probably March of your junior year. Like I think one that comes to mind is the Jackie Robinson Scholarship. Like that one, I think like it closed in January for like the current seniors, but now it's going to be reopened for juniors in March. And so, like, they have all that time to apply.
And again, for folks at home who are not familiar with Jackie Robinson, he was a baseball player, one of the most famous ones. He broke what's called the color line. He was the first African American baseball player in the 20th century, after they were banned by professional baseball in the 1890s. And he broke the color line in 1947, became a huge figure in the civil rights movement. Is the Jackie Robinson Scholarship specifically for African American students?
I think it has been, but now it's changed to just students of color. So like I could have applied. I'm not African American.
Okay.
But like now I think like since I'm a student or person of color, I have the eligibility to apply.
Okay, great. One thing I wanted to bring up is that when I went to college, I too was the beneficiary of scholarships, and I did get several of those micro scholarships. But I didn't know, I mean, again, this might also be an artifact of when I applied to college and when I went to college back in the 1990s, but I didn't know a lot about these other scholarship organizations and this scholarship process. All of my scholarship money came through the school, and it wasn't something I applied for separately. Is that still a big factor? Because again, a lot of our listeners at home might be parents or teachers, who have school-age children and might have their own memories of what the scholarship process was like 15, 20, 30 years ago, and it could be a different landscape. So are school scholarships still a major factor?
I think so. Like, it also depends, like, since they're like the micro scholarships, those mini scholarships, like, they won't necessarily like cover your full tuition, but they will be used for like other things, like given like the restrictions of the scholarship committee. So, for example, like a $200 scholarship that could pay, like now, I guess, a part of a new computer, or like, let's say you want to get more professional clothing for college or something, like that could pay for a suit. And so like it helps with like the hidden costs of colleges that I like to call hidden costs, because like it's not like tuition, it's not your rooming or board, it's like the other stuff that comes along. So like your books, for example, your school supplies, your like dorm supplies, all that other stuff that are associated with colleges, or that associated with college, but it's not necessarily like on the bill.
Right, right. So then if that's paying for the little things and you apply to college and you go to a large university, they're going to cover you, or you've earned based on your grades, a scholarship. It's from the school's financial aid.
Oh, when you said school before, did you mean like the high school or the college?
Colleges.
Oh, sorry.
I apologize. No, that's okay. It's good that we reviewed that. But basically, when I went to college, I went to Brandeis University. I earned what was called the Brandeis Scholarship,
Mhm.
and it was basically a combination of need and academic-based scholarship money. But it was not a loan. I didn't have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, is that sort of scholarship, the scholarship awarded by the college or university you're attending, is that still a big factor?
Yeah, I feel like, especially like for like those big, I guess like colleges that cost a lot more money than like state schools, like those they typically give out to quite a few students. Like I wouldn't say a lot of students, but like typically like I know a lot of my friends receive like the Emory scholarship, or like the same like equivalent of the Brandeis scholarship, and like that like amassed to almost like, let's say, a fifth of tuition or something, which is a lot considering
Right.
how expensive Emory was.
Right. I mean, I was lucky. The Brandeis scholarship accounted for 50% of my tuition and room and board. So it was 50% of the expenses.
Yes.
And then we had to make that up with other things. Other scholarships, loans,
Mhm.
mom and dad paying some money that they could afford to pay from a scholarship fund, things like that.
No, yeah.
So,
But yeah, like to go back to your point, like yeah, it was definitely like a big stuff, like a big amount. Like for example, like a lot of the students that I work at the schools with, like they get a lot of money, like, and some of them almost get covered like completely, or like they will get like a half ride, or they will get
from the school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they would receive merit scholarships with their like acceptance letters saying, hey, we're going to pay you this much, and it makes them a lot.
And just like in my case back in the day, these students, when they get these merit scholarships, these academic-based scholarships from whatever school they're accepted to and going to attend, they didn't apply separately for that. That just came as part of the acceptance.
Like there's some that come like with it, like with your acceptance. Then there's some that you have to apply to in addition. So like those like might be like for example like at Emory, it's called like the Emory it's actually called Emory Scholars, original name. But like those like in addition, like so there's like multiple rounds. So like the first round actually is like you just have to apply early decision to be considered for the scholarship. But then afterwards, like then you have to fill out like another essay if you like move on to the next round. So like if you want the full, and it's like usually like a full ride. So if you want that full ride, then you have to continue submitting stuff.
Right.
And then like at the end of it, they actually like fly you down to Atlanta, or fly you out to Atlanta depending on where you live. And then they would like have you interview for like 2 days for the scholarship. So like there are some that are like automatically given with your acceptance, but then there are some you actually have to like work for a little bit more than just applying.
And of course, that would be after the process of these other scholarships, these private organizations, whether companies or nonprofits, that you're doing the end of your junior year, the summer, before your senior year, or even earlier with the micro ones. These are happening after the acceptance, either the one you're getting just for merit or the ones you're applying to additionally at that school. And that's that school only. You're accepted to that school. You're going to that school.
It depends on the school. Like I don't
Okay.
want to I don't want to say yes or no.
No. That's good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because like for some like the people who were awarded Emory scholars, like they actually didn't end up going to Emory because like they might have gotten a scholarship for another school that they wanted to go to better,
All right.
like or more than Emory. So like but then there are probably others that are more restrictive, and they're like if you get the scholarship, you have to come here. Like,
Right. Right. All right. Well, that's good to know. Sounds like there's a lot of information, and the first thing is Just start asking questions. You're a student, you're a parent, talk to your school, talk to your company, talk to your family, talk to the coaches, the head of the orchestra, from micro scholarships early in your high school career or even earlier up through the big scholarships you apply to the summer before your college application process, and the specific scholarships at whatever university or college you want to attend. Sounds like communication is the key.
Yep. No, exactly. Communication is key.